Now, we were just touching on that debate with Dan Falvey there in relation to Shamima Begum. The latest appeal in her case, she's, of course, this 23-year-old woman who left Britain as a, I think, 15-year-old or 15-year-old schoolgirl to join so-called Islamic State. That appeal begins today.
Well, the hearing, which is expected to last 5 days, comes after the Supreme Court refused Ms Begum entry to the UK to challenge the removal of British citizenship.
Well, joining us now is human rights lawyer Harjap Singh, Bhangal. Good morning to you. Look, what will Shamima Begum's argument be today? Because the MI5 and indeed the British government have been absolutely categorically clear in all of this, that anyone that travelled overseas as a jihadist to join jihadists is a threat to national security. How has that changed?
That has changed with new information coming to light that the British government and the police have been covering up some information that the Canadian spies were involved in this case and that they actually helped and traffic and helped get out of the UK. Obviously, as a 15-year-old trying to get into the Middle East on their own, you'd have to admit it's pretty hard without going past border checks, without an appropriate adult with you. I'm sure our kids probably couldn't do it, but it's, now new evidence has come to light that she was not unassisted. She was assisted. She was talking online to people, and a Canadian spy is actually involved. And this information wasn't given to us initially. It's actually come to light now. And the government's had, been very sheepish about it. And hopefully over the next 5 days, we'll get the bigger picture as to what's actually happened here.
It was actually evident all those years ago that they were being assisted and aided and abetted to go out and travel over the border. I don't think that's anything particularly new. But what's the special legal loophole this time? This is looking at child grooming. Is this using the Modern Slavery Act? Is it that kind of legal loophole that we've seen being used for the Albanians coming in? Is that today's route?
No, that's slightly different because they're claiming they're adult victims of human trafficking, whereas in this, she was a child. And although we know she's been assisted, we never knew she was assisted by government spies or government agents. Everyone assumed she was assisted by terrorists. Now, if that's not the case, and it turns out that governments are involved and that there's been some double agents involved, as is the evidence points to, then that totally changes the picture. And it brings a lot of weight to her side in relation to, well, hold on, this could have been stopped, she could have been prevented. Why weren't the police alerted beforehand? Why was she allowed to go through security? Why wasn't anyone's parents or local councils or local authorities flagged up? There are protocols in place to prevent all of this happening. If this could happen to a child of 15, it could happen to anyone's child tomorrow. So whereas ultimately the decision was hers, and I don't think she ever denies that the decision was hers. The fact that she has been trafficked in a way does add some weight, if not a lot of weight, to her case to be allowed back in and be tried in the UK. Remember, all she's asking is to come back and be tried in the UK. She isn't saying I'm absolved of any blame in this.
Yeah, of course, there are huge implications for other people in similar situations if she is allowed back into the UK, which the court will be mindful of course, today. But I suppose it's interesting because, Shamima Begum in many ways is the most famous jihadi bride, isn't she? She's sort of the poster girl, if you like, for everything that happened in Syria. Done loads of television interviews. She's never mentioned child trafficking before.
Yeah, because, like I said, the government was covering up, and perhaps she didn't have the evidence at the time. Obviously, something has come to hand, and now there's evidence here, and the court is going to be presented with it. And that's the job of courts. The court's job is to look at all the evidence, regardless of public opinion, regardless of what me and you think or the viewers think. They're going to look at the evidence in the whole and decide what the law says and what the law should say. And so far, the courts have decided that the law should not allow her back in. And this is, like you said, pretty much a last chance saloon for them to have a look and everyone to present their evidence. And if new evidence does come to light, then just like in any case, if you were on trial, if I was on trial, if your viewers are on trial, if evidence comes to light that perhaps the situation isn't as it was, then everyone's got a right to put that forward, evidence forward, and for a judge to decide whether it's, or a committee to decide whether it's, the situation has changed or whether they should maintain their stance.
Of course, absolutely.
A great many people might say that you surrender your right to a British passport the minute you join a terrorist organisation that wants to exterminate and remove Britain from the surface of the planet. What would you say to them?
Well, I would say, don't you surrender your passport as soon as you commit any crime? I mean, what about a crime such as rape or murder or child grooming in the UK? It's not very desirable to have those people as neighbours or people here anyway. Aren't they working against the wills of the citizens? That's not the issue here. The issue is, if she's a British citizen, which she is because she holds a British passport, or she did hold a British passport, a British citizenship, then should she be treated like other British citizens, or should she be sent to a country where she's not born in, she hasn't lived in, just because the basis that her parents came from there?
I have to leave it there. Harjap Singh Bengal, human rights lawyer. Absolutely fascinating talking to you this morning. Shamima Begum's case will be heard at the Special Immigration Appeals Court later today. She is challenging a Home Office decision that she is considered a threat to the UK. And, of course, this case being watched very, very closely because it could set a precedent, and 60 British citizens who are held in indefinite detention and 150 terror suspects, all of whom have been stripped of British citizenship, could then return if she is given the right to return to this country. So we'll be watching that very closely indeed.
That's right.